Hey there, fourth grade. This is Mr. Campbell. Today we're going to be working on page 41. So go ahead and start opening up to page 41 right now. And this is going to be lesson 2.2, Estimate Sums and Differences. All right. Now, as you turn to page 41, I want to just give you a quick heads up about what estimating is. And estimating is really just when we take rounding and then we do some of our operations, whether that's addition or subtraction. We're going to use rounding for that. So right down here it says I can, and our I can statement at the end of this, we want you to say I can use rounding and place values to estimate sums and differences. All that means is we're going to try to use the rounding to make some easy problems for addition and subtraction for us to solve. Well, let's go ahead and turn to page 42 and check out what this is going to look like for us today. So here we are on page 42, and if you're not there yet, pause the video so you can make sure you get to page 42, because this is where we're going to start off for today. Now, it says, books, magazines, and movies were checked out of the public library. About how many more books were checked out than magazines and movies combined? So we got to figure out how many there were. And down here, it gives us that information. 12,642 books, 4,298 magazines, and 2,149 movies were all checked out. So this is all called reasoning, which is what this says. Use reasoning and use an estimate to solve. You can round to the nearest thousand or the nearest hundred to estimate. Now, whenever we're doing our rounding to estimate, the less numbers that we turn into zeros, like when we're doing our rounding, the more accurate our estimate becomes. However, sometimes it's just we want a general idea, like getting in the ballpark, which is where our estimates will start to come in. All right. So as we take a look down here, I'm going to come down to box B, and it says estimate, round to the nearest thousand. Find the number of magazines and movies. So it already tells us right here, round to the nearest thousand. All right. Well, when I do that, I like to underline the thousands place. That's the number that's either going to stay the same or round up. And the reason that I like to underline it and then I circle the number behind it is because the number behind it is going to tell it what to do. Well, I heard this a while ago, that if you were holding a balloon and you kept two fingers on the balloon, would the balloon float away? No, right? The balloon would stay there because you would still have a hold on that string. So that tells us that it's going to stay right there. So that's why the 4,000 stays the same. And then just like when we're rounding, everything else turns to zeros, including what I just circled. They all turn to zeros. Now when we take a look at 2,149, do the same thing. I look at this. If I had one finger, I was holding the string of that balloon, would it float away? No, right? Because it would be wrapped in my fist on one finger, but it's not going to float away. So my 2 is going to stay the same. All right? So that one stays the same. So that means that anything I circled and anything behind it turns to zeros. Well, that means that now I've got 4,000 plus 2,000, and that's 6,000. All right? So if I were to round my other number, my 12,642, I would round that up to about 13,000. All right. We put all of the magazines and movies together and got 6,000. So what's 13,000 minus 6,000? Well, what I'm really asking is 13 minus 6. And 13 minus 6 is 7. All right. So that's how we got that answer. Well, just like I was talking about with that balloon, let's take a look at box C. All right. So for box C, all right, we want to round to the nearest 100. All right. We're going to use the same numbers, but this time I'm going to round to the nearest 100. So I'm going to underline my hundreds place, ones, tens, hundreds, ones, tens, hundreds, circle the number behind it. All right. Now, if I opened up 9 fingers, right, if I did that and I opened up all 5 in this hand, what's going to happen? That 2, the balloon's going to go up. That tells the 2 to go up to the next number, which is why we rounded it up to a 3. The 9 tells the 2 to go up to a 3. All right. I circled the 9, and anything behind it turns to zeros. So that's why I have two zeros here. Now, when I take a look down here, I've got a 1. Well, if I had 4 fingers still on that balloon string, it would stay right there. It stays the same. All right. If it's 5 or below, it's going to stay the same. Or if it's below 5, I'm sorry. 5 and higher, it goes up. If it's 4 or lower, it stays the same. So my 1 stays the same. The 2 stays the same. But then these two turn to zeros. When I add these together, 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. 3 plus 1 is 4. 6 plus 2, or 4 plus 2 is 6. So 6,400. All right. When we do our subtraction, we estimated our books, which was 12,642, which when we round it, it stays 12,600. Subtracting those gives us 6,200. So when we take a look at these two answers, they're both estimates, right? But they're about 800 different. And that's part of when we're doing our rounding and our estimating, depending on how accurate we want to be, is going to change the answer that we ultimately find. Both are still correct. One's just more accurate than the other. But it's more accurate because it was a little bit harder. We didn't have all the zeros that we had here. We still kept more numbers that are non-zero. So that's why that can kind of happen that way. Let's go ahead and turn to page 43, and we will check out what we've got over there. So here we are on page 43. We're going to jump down here to number 2. All right, for numbers 2, 3, and 4, it tells us estimate the sum or difference. All right, and here they've already shown us that 2 of these place values we're not going to really care about because they're going to turn to zeros. So when I come over here, I'm actually just going to cross those 2 off. That way it helps me to see. All right, sorry, I can see it on mine. There's just a glare. But I can see that I want to underline here and circle this because they've already said these are going to be zeros out. All right. So the 6, what's that going to tell my 5 to do? Is it going to tell it to go up to 6 or stay right there at 5? Well, anything that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tells it to go up. So my 5 is going to go up to a 6, and then my 6 is circled, which tells me it turns into a 0. So I turned 5,638 into 6,000. All right. Well, now let's go ahead and check out 3,758. I see, again, 2 zeros already, so I'm going to cross off these 2, underline, and circle. What is my 7 going to tell the 3 to do? Well, the 7 is in that higher part. 5, 6, 7, 8 go up. So it's going to tell my 3 to turn into a 4, and then I have a 0 there. This becomes really helpful because 0 plus 0 is 0, 0 plus 0 is 0, 0 plus 0 is 0, right? All those are zeros. Now I just need 6 plus 4. 7, 8, 9, 10. So my answer there was 10,000. All right. So this is how we can do these estimatings. And if you take a look down here, we're going to be working on these in just a little bit. Sometimes they're giving that to you. They tell you exactly where they want you to round to. So in this case, for number 5, it's showing us we're going to either change or keep this one. So that's what I'm going to underline because that's the only spot that is still open for me. And that tells me the number behind it is going to tell it what to do. But sometimes down here, they don't give us that. Even down here, this is called horizontal, where they're in a straight line. It doesn't tell us. So sometimes we have to decide that on our own. All right. So here's what I want you to do. For number 3, would you please estimate to the thousands place? The thousands place. So I'm going to have you pause your video in just a second and estimate to the thousands place value. Now, what that means, all right, if I say to the thousands, that means we're going to underline the thousands place. And I want you to see, can you figure out which one is my thousands place right now? Well, I've got my ones place, tens place, hundreds place, thousands. So that means we are going to underline those numbers, and then right behind it, we circle each of those numbers, all right? So my underline was the 3 and the 5. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more for us, just so it's a little bit more clear, all right? So I underlined my 3 and my 5. And now I'm going to use my 5 and my 0 to be bossy. Pause the video. Go ahead and try that out on your own right now. And then we'll go over it. So pause your video and try it out. All right, I hope you paused your video. So for this one, if you haven't, pause your video now. But our 5 is going to tell the 3 to do what? Well, it's going to tell it to go up. So that means I'm going to have 6. And what's 1 more than 3 is 4, right? So 6, 4, and then everything else turns to zeros. Over here, the 5 is being told to do what by the 0? Stay the same. So I'm going to keep 25, and then I need 3 zeros. Well, when I add these together, the 3 zeros are going to stay the same. 4 plus 5 is 9. 6 plus 2 is 8. So our answer there is 89,000. Okay? Take a look at number 4. For number 4, I want you to round to the hundred thousands. Hundred thousands. Ooh, that is a big one. See if you can underline the hundred thousands right now, and then I'll show you which one it is. But I want you to see if you can figure it out. Which one is the hundred thousands? Well, we've got our ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, hundred thousands. So I need to underline the 2 and the 1, which means I need to circle my 6 and my 3. All right. Now I've kind of run out of space here, right? I don't have a ton of space. So I'm actually going to do this. I'm just going to draw a line right here so that way I can use the space up here to rewrite my numbers. All right. So the 6 is going to tell the 2 to do what? Well, the 6 is going to tell it, hey, go up 1 more. So what's 1 more than 2 is 3. And then I have a 0 because that was circled. And then I need 1, 2, 3, 4 more zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4 more zeros. Now here, I have a 1 and I have the 3 is being bossy. What's the bossy 3 going to tell the 1 to do? Stay the same. It doesn't want to change. So it's going to stay the same. So my 1, and then I need a 0, and then I'm going to need 1, 2, 3, 4 more zeros. All right. I am minusing, and this is super important to always double check what you're doing. We're subtracting here. All right. Well, even in subtraction, if I have 0 and I take 0 away, it stays the same. So I can put all those zeros in right away. Then I say, well, what's 3 minus 1? 3 minus 1 is 2. So my answer here was 200,000. Okay. All right. Well, as you come down here, I'm going to slide this down so you can see a little bit clearer. All right. As you're working on numbers 5, 6, 7, they tell you which place value they want you to round to. Numbers 8, 9, and 10, you're going to rewrite just like we just did up here. Find a space to rewrite those. Numbers 11, 12, and 13, you're going to have to rewrite, but you're going to have to find a way to do that. Maybe you want to stack them, but you'll have to use the space that's here to be given to you. You decide on these ones which number you want to round to, all right? Try to get something that's going to be accurate. Try to get something that you're going to go, oh, that makes sense. That's going to work for me. All right. Well, 4th grade, you guys did an awesome job today. Thanks so much for staying with me, staying focused. Work on numbers 5 through 13 right now, and we will see you next time. Have a great rest of the day.